Hello, my name is Steven Stein, and I'm an attorney at Greenberg Lusker. And I'm providing you here an overview of the small claims process as part of our small claims clinic, which we put on in collaboration with Tzedek Legal Services, Southwestern Law School, and the law firm Reed Smith. So the purpose of this workshop is to explain the basics of small claims court. Now, in the disclaimer, we are not your attorneys. We're just providing general information, not legal advice, and there's no attorney-client privilege. Now, here are the topics that throughout the presentations that we're making available online, we're going to cover. And these topics are settlement and resolution of any dispute, how to file a small claims action, how to serve a small claims lawsuit, how to defend against a small claims action, the small claims hearing, the judgment and appeal, and collection and payment. So let's talk about the basics of a small claims action. So why does the small claims process exist? Okay. Well, in general, filing or defending a lawsuit can be expensive and difficult to navigate without an attorney. Small claims court is a simplified version of normal litigation. It's meant to be quicker and cost less. There are no lawyers, no evidence rules, and no juries. Small claims court is very form driven. There are forms available online that you can fill out to pursue such claims. These are forms that the court system makes available. Another unique aspect of small claims is that the monetary amount of claims are capped at $12,500 or less for individuals and $6,500 or less for businesses. If you have a claim for more than that amount of money, you need to decide whether it is worth pursuing the full amount in regular civil court, which involves a longer, more complicated process, or pursuing a smaller amount through the simplified process that we're going to be discussing about in this presentation. Another unique aspect of small claims court is that generally claims can only be for money. For example, if you want your neighbor to stop playing loud music, small claims court is probably not the right place for you. So that's a basic overview. Now, before we get into sort of the idea of filing a small claims action, let's talk about some things that should happen before you do so. So, even though the small claims process is simplified, there's still some hoops to jump through. And it's possible that you might be able to resolve the dispute without needing to pursue a small claims action. And so let's talk about trying to settle the dispute yourself. And there are some different ways to do this. So first of all, just as a starting point, you should make a monetary demand on the other side before you file a small claims action. Because A, this is going to help facilitate any resolution of the dispute if that's possible. But B, if you don't, you'll have to explain to the court why you didn't make that demand. And while making that demand as a start, you should try in good faith to informally resolve the dispute. And there are many ways to do so. So you can speak informally by speaking to the other side directly or through an intermediary. You can also do this more formally by mediating. That is trying to informally resolve your dispute with the help of a neutral intermediary who has experience resolving such disputes. There are organizations like the Loyola Center for Conflict Resolution and the Los Angeles County Department of Consumer Affairs that provide mediation services for free or low cost. And those are options that it very well could make sense to explore. Now, there are many reasons why it makes sense to try to informally resolve such disputes, including the court requires parties to engage in settlement discussions. It actually has an online dispute resolution program through which the parties exchange proposals online. While the small claims process is a simplified version of litigation, there's still many hoops to jump through to pursue a small claims action that can be time-consuming and burdensome. And even if you prevail, it can be difficult to collect on a judgment. You might be better off avoiding or trying to avoid this process. So, and what's the downside, right? The worst thing that happens if you don't settle is that you can pursue the small claims action. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you do pursue an action in a dispute where each side has claims, this could result in the other side asserting counterclaims against you. And again, there are presentations available online detailing how to navigate a small claims action from start to finish, or just sort of giving you an overview in this specific presentation. And one important to think about in connection with this overview is the basics of the small claims process. So who can sue? So you need to be a person who is at least 18 years old or legally emancipated. And this includes foreign citizens and non-English speakers. Immigration status is not relevant. Any kind of business can also sue. But the key thing is that the party suing must be a real party in interest. This means the person or entity who is harmed by another person's actions. The person or business that files the lawsuit is called the plaintiff. That's probably a term you've heard before. So who can be sued? A person or business can be sued if they reside in California or if they do business in California. And again, immigration status is irrelevant. You don't need to be a US citizen to be sued. Now, an out-of-state person or business can also be sued if a dispute stems from activity or property in California. So, for example, if the dispute concerns real property owned in California, that could be a reason to sue a person or business in California. If it concerns an automobile accident on a California highway, that could be another reason. If there's a contract that was negotiated, carried out, or violated in California, that can be another reason. One thing we would flag is that there can be challenges to serving people who are out of state or businesses who are out of state. And again, there's a presentation covering service, and we can discuss that more. We will discuss that more, and you can review that presentation to give a better idea of what service entails. You can also sue public entities like cities, counties, government agencies. You just have to jump through a few more hoops to do that. Generally, you have to file a written claim with that government agency first. And the best way to figure out that process is to contact the entity to find out what the claim procedure is. And if you are being sued by the plaintiff, then you are called the defendant. And so finally, what can you sue for in the context of a small claims action? Your claim must be for money. If you're not asking for money, but you just want to make someone do something or stop doing something, you can't file in small claims court. For example, you cannot file to prevent your neighbor from having noisy parties or to force your neighbor to remove a fence that is partially built on your property. However, if you're asking for money, the court can make other orders, such as voiding a contract, requiring that property be returned, or making the defendant do something or stop doing something. And as we discussed, there are limits on the maximum amount of money you can claim, $12,500 for an individual, $6,500 if you're a business. And so if the claim is more, you have to think about whether you want to file in regular court, which is more complicated process, it takes longer, or give up that additional amount to enjoy the benefits of a simplified version of a court process that you get in the small claims action. Another component of this is that you can only file up to 2 cases per year, per calendar year if you're an individual, of up to $12,500 and up to $6,500 if you're an entity. And so just keep in mind, if you're filing a lot of small claims actions, there are some further limits on what you can do. And court costs are added on top of the amount that you're seeking in damages. So that's just a brief overview of the small claims process.